Hey guys, Stephen Bogren here. Today what I want to talk about is the post-show blues. So hey guys, happy Thursday. I hope you're all having a great week so far. Today what I want to talk about is the post-show blues. And so I guess it makes sense to kind of talk about what the post-show blues are first and foremost. And so post-show blues are, and it doesn't necessarily matter whether you do well or whether you do poorly, or I met my goals, I didn't meet my goals. There's always sort of this kind of empty space in terms of what now, what next after a show. And I think that for a lot of us being very kind of type A personality oriented, where we like to be driven, we like to have structure, we like to have a goal and a clear vision for what's happening in our lives, that can be kind of tough. So we call this the idea of the post-show blues, right? That we're kind of in this limbo land. We don't really know exactly what's coming next. When's the next show? How long in the off season do we need to take? Do I even want to still keep competing? All these different ideas are kind of floating around in our heads, and it can get us kind of bummed out sometimes. And to be fair, it doesn't always come post-show. Sometimes it comes leading up into the show. I know plenty of people who get post-show blues before their last show has even happened. And there's a lot of reasons for it, but the big thing is that we pay attention to how we're feeling, and we manage it accordingly. So the big thing is that if you find yourself getting down and you got the post-show blues and you're not at your last show yet, you haven't finished competing, we need to change what we're looking for. We want to keep the eyes on the prize, so to speak, right? So staying focused on the show, managing the stress, and then just being, open and honest about looking past the show as well to know what comes next. For a lot of us, it's simply going into an off season. It's simply going into an improvement season, getting better, putting on more muscle, and pushing around some weights. And that in and of itself, I think, is kind of a scary idea because, again, it's a bit more open-ended, just like our reverse diet. It's open-ended. We know that we need to do it. We know that it will benefit us. We know that if our long-term goals are to be successful on stage, that they're all important concepts we have to grasp and utilize. However, the fact that there's no set timeline like we're used to with shows or diets, right? Like with the show, I know I'm competing on June 9th. I knew I was competing on May 5th. Those were set dates. I know I'm getting married on whatever date. I'm not getting married. But you know what I mean? Like I know that, I need to look good on set date. Those are easy, right? We have it's defined. With the reverse and with the improvement season, it's not as defined. We need to take the time, however much time it's going to take, be patient, understand that your body's response will be different than anyone else's body's response, and we have to just sort of manage that accordingly. And so, knowing that they're more open-ended and it's going to take a bit more self-control and discipline to get there. However, if you're a type A personality and this is just part of your lifestyle, that helps out quite a bit. So look past the show. Get some things that you want to do. Say, I want to hit a certain number on my squats. I want to hit a certain number on my deadlifts, right? We're not going to start looking at those right away, but we know that we have those goals. It helps us to sort of be a little bit more structured coming out so we can feel a little bit better about the fact that we have vision and we have that idea of where we're going. That can help us to be less stressed going into that final show, because making sure that you are doing the right things to handle your stress, your sleep, your anxiety, all those aspects that have a big impact on how you look on stage are important. The last thing we want is to have too much stress coming into a show to not manage it appropriately and then have it negatively impact our physique. So one of the big things that I've seen a lot of benefit from would be Core Hard. It helps block cortisol. And me personally, and as well as in my clients, I've seen a huge positive impact of it for helping to manage the kickback we get from the stress going into a show. So That is always something I put out there as well. It can definitely be beneficial to you. So, say we're done with the show, right? So we don't have to worry about managing stress. We don't have to worry about getting on stage in a few days or a week, or so for all intents and purposes, how we look doesn't necessarily matter so much anymore, right? At this point, it's about managing the things that are important. So we want to make sure that we have a set goal in terms of how much body fat do we want to put on. How quickly do we want to put body fat on? For some of us who've gotten extremely stage lean and have had a longer off season, it's probably important that we're more aggressive. Simply put, being lean funks up your hormones. So it's very easy to get into like those states of depression and like mood swings and just low energy and sort of question yourself a lot. So for some of us, it might make more sense to hit that recovery diet, put on a little bit more body fat at first, and then slowly taper into the reverse. For some of us, maybe we're doing okay, we don't need to. We can stay as lean as possible going into that off season, right? And this is all going to be individually dependent. And I always recommend trying to stay as lean as you can in your off season while still feeling good, pushing weights and making progress in the gym. It just puts you in that much better of a place to get nasty shredded come stage time, right? So for some of us, it's going to be, all right, let's go out, let's put on some weight first, let's get you feeling good again, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. And for some of us, it's going to be, okay, let's really drill this out, let's be as good as we possibly can. We'll get you to a point where we're feeling good, but we're going to minimize the amount of body fat that we put on while we do it. Both should be with the idea that we want to minimize body fat during that process, but how much we're going to be able to do that is going to be individually dependent, and it's going to be based on a lot more than just the physical, right? So the second thing is, all right, where do we need to improve? Do we need more glutes? Do we need more shoulders? Do we need more back, right? Was it posing? Was it like, what is it that we need to improve? Because the muscularity is always something we're going to want to improve. So whether it's getting more defined hamstrings and like really working on the density of those hamstrings and glutes, or whether it's chest, shoulders, whatever it might be. Again, every individual is their own specific case. But we're going to want to look at that, and we're going to want to program and pay attention to our lifting accordingly. Now, that doesn't mean that we need to just go ham. Remember things like maximal recoverable volume. We can only recover from so much training stress at a time. That will get better as nutrition increases. But we want to make sure that we're training smart as well as training hard. Okay? For some of us, it's getting back to a normal lifestyle, right? Maybe the goal, what we need to adhere to and strive for, is just being able to go out with the family. I want to get my calories back to the point where I don't have to worry, and I can estimate and I can be comfortable in terms of going out to have a meal with my family or the people I love or my significant other, and then not having to stress about, am I going to put on a pound of body fat? Am I going to put on 2 pounds of body, right? Or am I going to go into F-it binge mode? I think that's the bigger one, right? So we want to also have goals that are going to prioritize our mental health and our lifestyle as well. So there's really, the big point is have something set. Don't allow yourself to come out of the show and not know where you're going. That's normally where those post-show blues kick in, and that's normally where we're going to see that happening. You want to make sure that you set yourself up with a plan for success for the long-term post-show to make sure that, one, you're doing all the right things physically to make sure you're taking care of your body, getting yourself back to a healthy place hormonally with body fat and where you're performing again, but that you're also taking care of yourself with your mind. You're doing the right things to make sure that mentally and emotionally you're doing well. So that's it, guys. Beating the post-show blues normally just takes a bit of planning. So get your planners out, get some stuff together, talk with your coaches about what comes next, and that should help quite a bit. But I'll leave it there, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Till then.